Ethan's probably gonna get mad for me for playing the Battletoads theme, but I think it's kind of appropriate. So, my buddy Ethan's big, huge, almost $1 million comic, Cyberfrog, is shipping, and hoes be mad. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about Rambo. We'll be talking about scary stuff. And what's in the box. My name is Micah Curtis.
I'm Alex Baldwin, and my leg isn't cramping me anymore.
That's good. Welcome to Micah and The Hatman, live! So, let's address something before we get into our picks of the week here. We are fully aware that, there is a Jack Posobiec comic on Indiegogo now that is being written by people we've had on the show. Chuck Dixon and Brett Smith is doing the color work. I'm just going to say that we wish them success, but asking $60,000 for a 32-page comic might be a bit of a stretch. So good luck to you guys. I hope you do well. I want you to do well. And honestly, Brett, if you keep coming up with projects that keeps Chuck away from working with Vox Day, I'm going to be your best friend forever. Seriously. Hopefully they find success, but I think they might be asking for a little bit there. Just saying. So, Hatman, pick of the week. Go.
So, this is a weird one because I didn't watch this movie this week. I watched this movie about a year ago, but I found it on DVD this week, and my girlfriend was asking me about it earlier, saying, I have never seen a Blair Witch movie before, and I'm like, it's worth a shot, it's worth seeing, but we couldn't find them on any streaming platforms for free, so...
Which is strange.
I was like...
You'd figure the first one would be.
It is. It is, because both of them were on, or at least they were on Amazon Prime at one point. But evidently they've been removed since then. But wandering through Walmart late one night after beer and wings at Hooters with a couple of buddies of mine, I found a 2-pack of the Blair Witch Project and its proper sequel, Blair Witch, for $5. I said, screw it, I'll buy it. So I bought it. And now, because I need a pick of the week, I decided, you know what, I'll talk about Blair Witch because I don't think I actually talked about it when I first saw it. This movie is kind of weird. Now, I first saw the Blair Witch Project when I was a kid. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it a few years after it had come out on VHS, because my dad, it was actually in this building that I first watched it. So I was at work here, my dad's company. This is where I work now, but when I was a kid, I was helping out, quote unquote, and I watched the movie on VHS. I thought it sucked, even back then, even when I was a kid. I thought the Blair Witch Project sucked. I watched it again years later, and I was like, this is okay. It's not really that great, but and I was like, okay, there's a sequel to it. Why not? I'll give the proper sequel a chance. And it was weird. Like, it tried really hard to recapture what the original did, but for the YouTube generation, because straight up, like, that's how they, this group of kids gets involved with the whole thing, by finding a YouTube video. And it gets a little more, I guess I can say paranormal. Whereas the first one was more like a psychological horror thing. This is like out and out paranormal, where you have like time distortions and shit, and paradoxes. And it gets like really, really weird. And by the end of it, you're like, I have no idea what's going on. This is just really, really weird at this point. And of course, nothing is explained, like in the original. So it to me it feels kind of like just the atmosphere being spooky, I guess. In a way, it reminds me of Silent Hill, except Silent Hill is good. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's all right if you are watching Halloween type movies with someone who gets easily spooked. But if you're looking for like a really good horror movie, I'd say pass on this one, to be honest. And from the chat, Cannibal Holocaust sort of did the found footage thing at first. And then there was a legal battle, I believe, in Italy over whether or not the footage was actually real. You know, because if it was, then they had basically just made it a snuff film. And even before Blair Witch, there was a movie called The Last Broadcast, which was running on found footage in a documentary style thing too. And that movie was also not good. So, yeah, found footage movies aren't that great. Cloverfield was good. And what's another one? I guess VHS too. I didn't like Paranormal Activity that much, but
yeah, me either.
Eh.
No, the only
Haunted
one...
Door, the movie. That's what it was.
Yeah. The only one that I really ever thought was interesting, even though it's not quite found footage, was Unfriended.
That one was pretty interesting.
It was
that
unique.
And if any of you guys have ever seen this, you'll know what I'm talking about. Megan is Missing. That movie was so fucked up. And it tried to have like this moral message of don't talk to strangers on the internet and be careful of all this shit too. And it was just so fucked up. It was nuts.
Yeah. But no, Unfriended has one of my favorite kills of all time, where a dude like literally sticks his hand in a blender because he's being like murdered by a spirit, and then he managed to break the blender to try to get away from it, and the spirit slams his head on it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's jacked up. I loved it. I'm like, yes! I always wanted to see that in a movie.
Taking a page out of Idle Hands, huh?
Oh yeah. All right, my pick of the week. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the fucking box? 7. Oh, this movie's a classic.
Classic.
Probably, it's still, in my opinion, is Brad Pitt's best movie. 12 Monkeys Can Kiss My Ass. Like, this one is phenomenal. Excuse me. Oddly enough, directed by the same guy who directed Alien 3. But this one, to me, I've always found interesting. Because it is a cop movie. But it's also a horror movie in a sense. But one of the most horrifying things about it is the fact that it's all done by a man. By a dude. I'm not going to spoil who. But, because even though this movie is old-ish, still worth seeing. It's like there's an element of it that is so 90s because it opens like the opening credits are to Closer by Nine Inch Nails, but the atmosphere and tone of this movie is something that I've never seen anything like it before. I first saw this movie, oddly enough, when I was 18, I think. Yeah, 18. So it's been a while. And it had been out for years prior to that, but I'd only heard of it by reputation. I had never actually watched it. So what I would do back in my senior year of high school is I would go around my rental place, you know, with what little money I had, and just see. It's like, what's a movie I haven't seen yet? You know, and that's how I discovered Spawn. That's how I discovered a lot of really shitty anime. And then how I discovered Seven. And I think the one thing that I've always found intriguing about this film is that it makes sure to humanize every single character on the screen, except for the killer, of course. But to make them feel vulnerable, to make them feel like people. You know, and there's parts of the conversation, let's keep this in mind, like, the dialogue in this film. There's a good part of the dialogue in this film that is just them shooting the shit with one another. But the reason it's effective is because it gives you an idea of what their state of mind is and how they do things. It's ridiculously convincing to a point that I don't really think that, and this is one thing that really gets me about, like, some people that I know. I love dialogue. I really do. Obviously, and Hatman can confirm this, I love writing it, and I'm very good at writing it. I love action too, but there's got to be a balance. But sometimes the best way to have two characters develop, have them talk to each other. And that is what you get from Somerset and Mills in this movie. You know, their dialogue and the things that they talk about are really just general cop conversations. But the fact that they are general cop conversations makes them feel real. They're not constantly waxing poetic. They're not constantly trying to sell the audience on how big of a deal this whole thing is. The acts that you see in the film that are done to these victims, quote unquote, are enough to sell you on the killer and the things that he does. And don't get me wrong, the things that the killer does in this movie are truly twisted. The killer in this, I don't know if he ever really gets a name. We'll call him John Doe. John Doe.
It was John Doe.
Yeah. The stuff that he does is mortifying. The one that I would probably say is the worst kill, Lust. I'm not going to just say what happened. All I'm going to say is the actor they got to portray one of the victims, when you first see him, is you just see him covered in blood and screaming, "Get this fucking thing off of me!" Yeah. It's an intense movie. And it's probably one of my top 10 favorite films ever. It is... I remember just the first time I saw it. Like, just sitting there. And it was me, a girl that I know who was at the time was kind of a friend with benefits, and my youngest sister. Youngest sister goes to bed. Friend with benefits is kind of like, "Are you in the mood?" I'm like, "After that movie? Not really." Not really, no. So, yeah. Needless to say, classic. If you have not seen Seven, you should. If you haven't seen it, I'm kind of ashamed of you. But it is one of those films that you must see. Especially if you like cop drama or if you like horror movies. It is fantastic. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to topic number 1. Ho's mad.
Ho mad.
So, Twitter has been interesting these last couple days. Especially comic book Twitter. Because comic book Twitter has realized that Cyberfrog is not only real. People are getting their hands on it now. It's shipping out.
It's happening.
It is very much happening. The oddly enough, the run that the people that are getting them now are the people who ordered the third cover, which would be myself included. I haven't gotten my copy yet. So people are getting their hands on it. And all of the people who have been saying for over a year now that it's never going to happen. People are never going to see the comic. It's not done. Da 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 da. Are now realizing, oh shit, we were wrong this whole time. This comic exists. People have their hands on it. Now this little nonsense worldview about comics that we formulated for ourselves is worthless. And I have just seen some of the weirdest shit on Twitter. So, one person that I saw, a guy named George Alexopoulos, who has a comic of his own, which doesn't look bad, called Mary Sue. And the conspiracy theory that he came up with, where Ethan has a bunch of alts, which is why he has more than one iPad, and his super chatting himself. That was a galaxy brain take. Especially George, first off, genuinely concerned for your mental health here, buddy. Seriously, like, get a little help. Second, there's this thing called the Google tax. Whenever somebody super chats you, you lose 30% of that money and you don't get it for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me this. Why on earth would I give myself, or super chat myself, and lose money? Why would anyone do that? But it's just been interesting because there's two major groups that are pissed off about this book is shipping. First is the Vox Day camp. They are very angry that that Ethan is shipping this comic, because their whole thing has been is that, oh no, Comicsgate isn't going to ship their books. Cyberfrog's never going to happen. That's why you should get Vox Day and John Della Rose books, because those are actually going to get shipped out. Try to ignore the shitty interiors. And the fact that nobody in that camp can fucking write. But, they're pissed off because they legitimately did think that at some point Vox Day was going to be a bigger name in comics than Ethan Van Sciver. Sorry, guys, that ain't happening. And on top of that, you have several people that have been befriended by Ethan. Me, Von Klaus, Cal Jameson, and a lot of others. That our books are hitting our goals, and then some. You've got, just off the top of my head, Englewood is almost at 10K. We're less than $300 away from it. So back it now, link in the description. Less than 10% away from 10K on my very first comic. Then you've got, like, Eric Weathers' Flying Fortress is like 30 some odd thousand. Cal Jameson's Shinobi Sasquatch is 48,000, coming close to 50,000. Von Klaus's book is like close to 80, I think. Like, it's going, like, and there's a lot of others who are making close to 10,000 on their books. So they're hitting their goal of like 5, 6, 7, and then going a little further. That's unheard of. And on top of that, these books are big books. They're full-on graphic novels. People aren't having to pay a ton of money for. So, when it comes right down to it, the Comicsgate is a force. And the alt-writers don't like it because we don't want to put out right-wing comics with all their bullshit. Not to mention, we don't want to claim to be Catholics and all for sexual purity and then try to sell fucking waifu pillows. Yeah. And then, of course, the lefties, the anti-Comicsgate people that are on the left, they're going crazy too. Because for the exact same fucking reason. Is they didn't think this book was going to happen. And it has happened. And it's going out to people. And Ethan has said he has learned a lot from this particular instance, and the same mistakes, he's not going to make the same mistakes twice. And that's true for a lot of people, to be honest with you. You know, there are mistakes that I made on Englewood that I'm never going to make again. The next campaign will be a lot simpler and lot less tears. So when you look at it, Comicsgate's a success. And even more so, Comicsgate is a force in the industry, which is something that a lot of other things cannot claim to be. And people that are even the incumbents, like fucking Dan Slott and others, they're scared of that. Because we're competition for the big two, and we're putting out something that's better. Because if the best that the big two can offer you in regards to new talent is Mags Visaggio, they're in trouble. By the way, Mags just got another comic canceled. Yeah. Ho's mad.
Very mad.
All right. Needless to say, though, congrats to Ethan on this one. You know, he's worked very hard on this comic, and it shows. And I'm excited to see what happens next. And Ethan, if you need somebody to script Wrecked Planet, the next book, don't forget me. I'm just kidding. But unless you do want me to write it, in which case I will do it in an instant, and then I'll quit my day job because I know I'm going to make more money than God. Oh, shit. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So, Rambo.
I have a feeling we're about to use a certain button.
It'd be tempting not to, honestly. But, so, the newest Rambo movie is out. And I have not seen it yet. Though I
Neither
want
have I definitely want to. I will see it.
But, the critics.
Bless.
Thank you. The critics
30% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes. But the reasoning for that low percentage is toxic masculinity and racism.
Mike, I have a question.
Okay.
How is it racist to say that human trafficking rings are fucked up?
Well, apparently
how is that racist?
They're only fucked up if they're only fucked up if white people do it, apparently.
So if they made a Rambo movie about killing Epstein, that would have been okay.
Yes.
Oh, God. Yeah, 84% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. 30% critics score. A fascist snuff film.
Says the author of First Blood says he hates this movie too. The author of First Blood hates the Rambo series in general.
Yeah. How the hell... I'm just looking at the Rotten Tomatoes page right now. How the hell did Bob Chipman, fucking Movie Bob himself, become a Rotten Tomatoes reviewer? Shall I read the clip from his review?
I guess.
Feels more like a generic Taken knockoff goosed up with some half-hearted Mexican border xenophobia that can't even muster the energy to commit to that base level of thematic coherence. Hey, Micah, do you want to press a button?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Fuck him.
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Yeah. So apparently not liking drug dealers and sex traffickers is xenophobia now. I want to do a video of a review of this movie where I'm just going to call it Rambo is awesome, Movie Bob is stupid. Somebody just gave us money again. So, Ricky Joya said, David Morrell should go to Stephen King's house and have one big pity party. I agree. Because, I'll be frank, when it comes to the Rambo movies, First Blood is a genuinely phenomenal film. It is, like, Seven is one of my top 10 favorite films of all time. Rambo First Blood's up there too. And the only Rambo movie that I would say that I'm not the biggest fan of, oddly enough, is 3, which is the one we took the fuck 'em clip from. Just because it's a little too over the top at points. Though the part where he pulls a bullet out of himself, out of his side, and then uses another bullet from an AK-47 to seal the wound is one of the most hardcore things I've ever seen. But all things considered, though, I love Rambo. Like this and Die Hard and like The Terminator are movies that like me and my dad used to watch together and still do on Father's Day whenever I get the chance to go home for it. You know? And honestly, I still love the fourth one. Even though it's a little schlocky, and the gore is like, holy shit. Like the 50 cal scene. Dear God. That is probably one of the best firefights I've ever seen in a movie. Ever. And just like the disemboweling of the colonel at the end of it. The only thing I didn't like is like it was almost all CG gore. Like, and it's very obviously CG gore. If they had done practical effects, holy fuck, that would have been incredible. But anyway, but no, it's like, don't ever like. And this is my problem with Movie Bob. Movie Bob is a cuck. Movie Bob, I remember he did a video about The Expendables and Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Mad that people wanted to see The Expendables more than Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Okay. Let's put something into perspective here. You have two action movies. You have one action movie that is kind of a hipster film in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, where the lead character, Scott Pilgrim, is a piece of shit. On the flip side, you have another movie with Sylvester Stallone, Terry Crews, Dolph Lundgren, Jet Li, Randy Couture, Stone Cold fucking Steve Austin, and I feel like I'm forgetting
Stone Cold!
And then Mickey Rourke, delivering probably one of the best monologues in his career, mind you, in a tribute to old 80s action flicks, which were big blockbusters. And you're surprised that people went for the testosterone-fueled ass-kicking. And I forgot Jason Statham was in there, too. Like, are you fucking serious? But the fact of the matter is the reason that those movies and why Stallone and Schwarzenegger and these guys can still pull box office is very simple. They know what they're doing, and they know who they're aiming for, and they have no preconceptions about aiming for some other audience aside from the people that like action movies. You know, The Expendables 1 is a fun fucking movie. I didn't like the second one as much because it felt a little too meta. But when it comes right down to it, there's just no... There's no fucking reason to get pissy about a good guy killing bad guys. Their skin color has nothing to do with it. The only people who care about skin color when it comes to these movies are the SJWs. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna see this movie. I will probably love it.
I probably will too.
Because Stallone is fucking awesome, and the world will be a lesser place when he is no longer here.
Oh, don't say that.
Oh, he's in his 70s.
I know, man, but just I'm gonna knock on wood just in case. I don't want to lose him anytime soon.
Yeah, me neither. Finally, Hatman, I'll let you take lead on this one because I want to eat a little bit.
All right.
IGN's dumb moral panic over white phosphorus.
So, as a kill streak bonus in the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, not the old Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
That looks pretty good.
You can get a white phosphorus run. White phosphorus, of course, being chemical burns, basically.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys have played Spec Ops: The Line, there is a very, very powerful scene with white phosphorus in it. But this dude wrote an article for IGN basically saying, maybe Infinity Ward should reconsider using white phosphorus because of, how terrible it is. And, there's an argument to be made there. Like, yes, it's serious. Again, I refer back to Spec Ops: The Line. That was a powerful fucking scene.
Kudos to Nolan North, by the way, for his performance in that game.
Oh, looks like Siri's going to be activated.
Oh, I was going to say,
anyway,
you had this look on your face of that was Nolan North? Yes, it was.
Yeah, I did not know. Then again, Nolan North is just incredible. But anyway, but you can't make that argument and then say stuff like, or no, you can't make that argument and ignore the entire fact that it's a war game. Like, war in general is going to be hell. And then there's, a kill streak reward with a nuke. Like, do you need to refer back to fucking Fallout? Like, the effects of fucking Fallout? I'm not talking about the games, the actual effects of nuclear fallout. It's bullshit. And yeah, Chris Jones in the chat says the dude tried to act like a victim when the quartering called him out. Yeah, playing the whole, I was just trying to start a conversation card. Bullshit. That is the go-to defense for anyone who does not immediately get kowtowed to, or who faces criticism for it. I was trying to start a conversation. Bullshit. You were trying to get it removed. You were trying to have something censored in a game because of whatever sensibilities. Like, I get it. I understand it. I understand the point of view. But I think the argument is still stupid. Given everything that's in there, it's still fucking stupid.
Let me say this.
Just, no. This isn't...
Here's the problem that I had with it. Actually, no. Go ahead and finish your point. I'm going to keep eating my peaches.
Okay. I was going to say, fucking think back to Modern Warfare 2. The fucking airport scene.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the articles that came out around that time talking about it?
Yep.
There were very few that actually like questioned why it was in the game. A lot of them said, "Yeah, it's powerful and fucked up."
Oh yeah.
And then there were some of them that said, "Okay, like Infinity Ward should probably issue some kind of a notice about it." And
Which
that's
they
what
did.
resulted in there's one scene in the game that's kind of fucked up. You can skip this if you want, and that ended up being in the fucking game. But you cannot. I know it's a different era now. I know we're in a different time period, but the argument is still the same. You cannot make excuses for all the other shit that has been in this series and then say, no, this is not okay. This needs to be removed. Not just opted out of, but removed altogether. Don't bullshit with this whole they need to reconsider, because let's be real, if they reconsider and they decide you're full of shit, then you're not going to be happy. That's not you wanting them to reconsider, that's you wanting them to bend the knee.
Exactly. My dad pointed this out to me one time about stuff like this. So for those who don't know, Dad was in the military, drafted into Vietnam, did not end up fighting in Vietnam. It brought in tail end, basically. Served in, I always thought he was in the 101st. I was actually wrong. He corrected me on that. He was in the, what was it? He was infantry. He wasn't airborne, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But he trained at a Bragg.
He still went to Bragg, though, right?
Yeah, he trained at a Bragg. So, could have been
Vietnam.
Could have been a Green Beret if he wanted to, but he decided not to. He decided to just train other soldiers. Dad calls this the Three Kings argument. So, for those of you who have not seen the movie Three Kings, another great movie. Stars Ice Cube, Mark Wahlberg, and Matt Damon, if I remember right. No, it's Ice Cube, George Clooney, and Matt Damon. It's a military thriller. It's really, really good. And there is a point in that film where they give a grisly detail of a bullet hitting you in the gut and what it does to you. Oftentimes, and I see this from a lot of people who argue against certain military weaponry, is they will use those descriptions and how horrific they are to John or Jane Q. public as an argument. Here's the fact. There is no single weapon used in war or otherwise that is not ugly in what it does to you. And I am somebody who has seen people hunt. I have gutted fish, things along those lines. I've seen gore, I've seen it. It's a reality of existence. We have innards. And the thing about it is that a bullet does a nasty thing to you. White phosphorus does a nasty thing to you. Napalm, nuclear explosions, grenades, shrapnel, mines. Hell, claymore mines are horrific. But it is a tool meant to kill. We don't expect it to do nice things. And that is why the argument, in my opinion, is invalid. You can tell me how nasty white phosphorus is all day. I'll be like, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's horrifying. Welcome to war, fuckface. You wear a helmet for a reason. Mm-hmm. And that's what just about every Marine I've ever met would tell you. Like, they didn't, like, I have friends who died in the Middle East so that American developers would have the chance to tell these stories free. And I find it very offensive. I find it disrespectful to them. And the things that they endured and saw. to make these arguments. Because, in my opinion, a good military shooter that treats soldiers with respect is a good thing for our society. Because we should never forget what they do and what they volunteered to do for us. So, yeah. It's about war. Nobody's expecting a handshake and a blowjob. You know, we expect nastiness.
The Geneva Convention does not apply to video games.
Well, it also doesn't apply to terrorists either. They're not in uniform. And terrorists should not be treated like soldiers either. So, just a bit of clarification there. All right, let's go ahead and move into the Q&A. Got quite a few questions from the Discord, actually. The other hat asks, "What would your advice be for someone?"
Other hat?
Yes, there is another one a gentleman whose last name is Hat. So that's interesting. He just goes by a hat. So he's not a hat man.
There can be only one.
No, he's not a hat man. He is simply a hat. But
who came first, the hat or the hat man?
But he asks, what would our advice be for somebody who just started writing and is trying to find a direction to take their work in? Do what you want. Don't overthink.
What are you writing?
Well, no, just in general, don't overthink it. Just write what you want to write, and then if it's good, keep it. If it's bad, don't. That's it. Like don't overthink it. If you overthink about the direction and things like that from the start, you're never gonna get it done. Just write it and see if it's any good.
Yeah. Don't. That's what I have to tell myself all the time. Don't ever think it.
Yep. All right.
Remember, you guys, don't learn. Don't learn physics just so you can figure out where the sun is going to rise and set in your fucking world.
Exactly.
That's overthinking it.
Yeah, exactly. Holy Ninja Toe asks, for the Entertainment Podcast, you knew this was coming. Would you explain why My Hero Academia didn't hook you in without it related to Naruto? I didn't like the protagonist.
Fair enough.
Not to mention, I can't not relate it to Naruto because instead of a ninja school, it's a superhero school. Like it plays to all these silly tropes, but with superheroes instead of ninjas. The only thing I will say is I know of Midnight and I like her design. But anyway, Alistair asks a question for both of us: how would we rank the Max Payne games? 1, 3, 2.
Yeah. Well,
though it's close.
I don't know. Now I'm kind of wondering if 3 would outdo 1. But then again, I haven't played 1 in a while, so.
1's story is still the best one.
Yeah, that might put it over the edge, honestly. 3's gameplay was just so refined.
Yeah, the gameplay in 3 is phenomenal. The only issue is the load times. But they're all really close to one another. I think the only reason that 2 is the weakest is it doesn't do anything to really stand out from the other two.
Yeah.
Because the first game is the visceral nature of it, I think, is what hooks people, especially the dream sequences. The third one, it's the fact that it's a different scenario, and you see how rough Brazil is. Brazil is brutal. So, I had people telling me you couldn't set film noir in Brazil. I'm like, go fuck yourself. Like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You don't know shit about that country. Alright, Rick asks, how would you feel about a story where town takes their guns and weaponize golden snitches to fight 50 rogue doom bots invading on steel horses brandishing lightsabers. This is starting to sound like the Dark Tower.
What?
Yeah.
Take the gun and weaponize golden snitches.
I'm wondering if I should pay you to read the book or pay you and then beg you to read the book.
What the fuck kind of 12-year-old fan fiction is this?
That actually does sound like a segment in one of the Dark Tower books. Where, like, Darth Vader is fighting somebody else. Because the thing about the Dark Tower is that, like, parts of it takes place in this, like, crux between universes. And it's, like, fictional universes that intersect with one another. I mean, fuck, the bad guy's Randall Flagg from The Stand.
God damn it.
So, I'm wondering if
how would I feel about it? I feel like it's a 12-year-old's fan fiction. I only say that because when I was about that age, I did write bullshit like that.
Yeah, book 5 of the Dark Tower, Wolves of the Kala. Yeah, that book is very trippy. Let's see here. Talon Silverbane asks, with Rambo doing well with the public, I think we'll see a resurgence of macho manly men type heroes, or will the critiques continue to claim such attempts are sexist, racist, bigoted, classist, and catist? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe people have a thing for cats, but I would like to see another resurgence. But I think it's kind of been going on for a while. I mean, you got another Terminator movie coming out. Arnold is in it. Linda Hamilton is in it. You know, fuck. Linda Hamilton's in Gears of War now. That's kind of fucking awesome. But
that was cool. That was cool. I'll give him that. That was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. And then Arnold's in fucking Mortal Kombat, though he's not voicing his own character, which sucks. But
yeah. I hope we get to see that. I hope we get more like masculine, like fatherly films. Sort of like what God of War or Dad of Boy was for Vidya. I hope we sort of get something like that in film. Because I think we need that in pop culture right now. Yeah. I think we really do.
We need more dads that are seen as good people. Part of the reason why I got really pissed off last night when there was a rumor going around that Seth Rogen might end up playing Ben Grimm.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. It's like, do you not want this Fantastic Four film to succeed? What the fuck?
No. We need just bring back Michael Chiklis, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Just do it.
All right, so Serena donates $1, and she say, thanks for answering my question from last week. Sorry I submitted it late. I was kind of out of it. Wanted to know what music genre you would choose for natural elements. For example, ether, fire, earth, air, water, darkness, and light. Heavy metal for all of them. There's a heavy metal so this is something you're gonna have to learn with me, Serena. I am such a metalhead. I know every single like fucking subgenre of metal, and I could, if I thought about it for a little bit, I could probably name one for all of those. Yeah. So yeah.
What element what genre of music would I do for the elements of earth? Rock. Because yes, I would.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, there's something I really want to answer in the chat.
Okay.
So Garza asks, how do you write a morally questionable or even evil main character while keeping them sympathetic and readable?
Make him human.
That's what I'm doing. That is the protagonist that I'm writing. What you do is you make him a likable character at first. Get people to agree with him. Make him the morally good, morally sound character, and then have him make more and more questionable decisions along the way, just increasing in severity to the point where you've been exposed to them for so long in this sort of way that when he finally does something crazy, like burns somebody alive who is threatening supposedly, like, the peace in the public, then suddenly you're having to take a step back and go, wait a minute, that's going a little too far, isn't it? And then you have to go back and question every other decision that happened up to that point. Sympathize with him at first and then keep it going, just like a gradual, a slow fade, if you will, a gradual turn to not so much villainy, but morally objectionable decisions. That's what you got to do. Put him in a place where you could see that character and the opposition both being right. Sort of like what Marvel did with Civil War in the MCU. You could see both sides being right, but one side is more right than the other. So Light Yagami from Death Note. No. Hatman is writing. Yes, I've been writing for over 15 years now. I've been working on one singular story for over 15 years. Ask me about it in the Discord. I don't have time to talk about it here.
Yeah. One good example, though, was like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. Let's see here. Oh, there was a... Let's see here. If I was to rewrite...
Thoughts on Dune?
On Dune or Doom?
Oh, go ahead. No, do your question. You got there first.
No, you said Doom. Wait, or did you say Dune?
Dune.
Oh, Spice Must Flow. That's our thoughts.
Need to read the book. Good movie.
Yeah. Said if I was gonna Tyler Jorgensen asked if I was gonna rewrite Blood Rain for a reboot, how would you write the games, not the movies, because the movies can burn in hell.
I don't know that I could do it.
There was a really good Blood Rain platformer that was a few years ago, I thought, that was like did exactly that. So I'd be kind of late to the party. I don't know. I mean, if like a video game company brought me on to do Blood Rain, I never played the games. That's the problem. But they're supposed to be like character action games, sort of like Devil May Cry, right?
Yes.
Okay. So... The thing about stories like that is that all you really have to do is come up with a big, nasty, evil villain and then string along a series of events that strings from one direction to the other. I mean, a female vampire would be an interesting thing for me to write, because I haven't had the chance to write someone who is seductive. So I would definitely be interested in doing that. It would definitely be one of those projects where I'd be mad that I'm not an actual game designer, because there's like certain elements of it that I would love to craft in regards to how to tell the story of the character herself. Like the way she moves, things like that. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't really have a... I will say I would love it. I'd be all over it. Like if a game company is like called me tomorrow, I was like, hey, do you want 50, 60 grand to write this game? I'd call my day job immediately and quit. and do that instead while writing comics. Let's see here. Hardboiled Entertainment asks, whatever happened to the comic Patriotica? There was a dust-up between the creator and Vox Day, so I'm sort of rooting for that comic. It's still around. I mean, there's just not as big of a fuss about it now. But, I mean, it's still, like, they still do, like, quarterly graphic novels on Indiegogo, I think. Let's see here. The last one was book 3. And it was on Kickstarter. 895 backers pledged 45 grand. So yeah, doing pretty well actually. Art style's good. I mean, it's still going.
There you go.
Final question. I think this is going to be an interesting one. Opinions on France saying Steam has to allow customers to sell their games back. Steam is at the moment appealing this ruling. Well, that would be interesting.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
that would be.
Because there's games that I have on Steam that if I could sell to another user and like trade the license over, I would. I think that's interesting.
There was I guess it was just a couple of years ago, maybe it was even last year. There was a survey that Xbox was putting out for Live and Game Pass customers. And one of the questions they asked was really interesting. It was, would you want a system where you could sell back digital titles that you bought for like a specific percentage of what you paid for them?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, 10% or whatever, lowball.
Yeah.
But it was still an interesting proposition. I don't know how you could really make that work, though.
Yeah.
Especially when Steam, in the case of Steam at least, you've got their return policy.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've already got that. So
which is a good one too. I mean, as long as you played less than 2 hours of the game, you can refund it immediately.
Yeah, but I don't know how well an outright resale policy would go.
Yeah, I mean, it could be
and
abused.
Even then,
that's the real thing.
Yeah. Well, it opens the door for all other forms of software that are obtained digitally too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what about I don't know, like downloading Microsoft Office or something without an Office 365
they sell Vegas on
subscription.
there and other Sony softwares.
Yeah. Like, what about that? I mean, I don't know. I feel like this has too many negative ramifications to be a good thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's probably why Valve is appealing it. Which I'm rooting for them in that case. I really don't like the idea of governments telling private companies how to live there. I fucking despise it, actually, the idea of governments telling companies how to do their fucking business. That's ridiculous. Yeah. What's going to stop them from someday telling me what I can and cannot put in a comic book? So, all right.
Yeah.
That is it. We are famished and tired and... Yeah, I've got bags under my eyes, so I might need to go get some sleep or something.
I'm about to say, I've been out at this, let's see my shirt, the Carousel Festival in Burlington all day, so that's where my time's been. I've been out in the sun, and I'm still toasty.
Yep. So we're going to go ahead and take off. We appreciate you guys for stopping by. Who all donated during this podcast? I know Serena did. Who else? Ricky Joya as well. So thank you guys for that. And yeah. So we're going to go ahead and take off and go enjoy the rest of our evenings. I am probably going to go eat something delicious and then rest. So don't forget to tag Brainbox in the chat for if you did not get a question answered for the overflow. And we will, of course, answer it for you. And yeah. Anything else, Hatman, before we go?
I guess we might review Rambo next weekend because we'll probably see Rambo.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It depends on how strongly I feel whenever I get out of it tomorrow.
Sounds like it.
Alrighty, folks. We appreciate you, and we're going to go ahead and head out. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, the one and only Hatman.
See you guys next week. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.